The reason most people fail isn't because they set their goals too high and miss. It's because they set their goals and then do nothing about them today. They'll start Monday. They'll start next month. They'll start when things calm down. But successful people? They started today. Maybe not perfectly. Maybe not with everything figured out. But they started. I've watched this pattern repeat itself thousands of times over the years. People come up to me after seminars, their eyes bright with possibility, notebooks full of ideas, heads full of dreams. They shake my hand and say, "This is it. This is when everything changes for me." And I believe them. I really do. Because in that moment they believe it too. But here's what I've learned. That moment of inspiration, that feeling of absolute certainty that you're going to transform your life, it means absolutely nothing if you don't back it up with action the very next day. See, we've gotten really good at the inspiration part. We're excellent at getting fired up, at making plans, at buying the books and the courses and the planners. We're world-class at talking about what we're going to do. But when the alarm goes off the next morning, when it's time to actually do the thing we said we'd do, suddenly we've got 100 reasons why today isn't the day. Today's too busy. Today's not ideal. Today we're too tired. We'll start fresh on Monday. Let me tell you something I learned the hard way. I spent years of my life waiting for Monday, waiting for the first of the month, waiting for January 1st, waiting for when I had more money, more time, more energy, more clarity. And you know what happened during all that waiting? Life happened. Bills piled up. Opportunities passed by. Other people who weren't any smarter than me, weren't any more talented than me, weren't any more connected than me, they passed me by. And the only difference was this: they were doing something about their goals today while I was planning to do something about my goals someday. The truth is, someday is not a day of the week. Someday is the disease that will take your dreams to the grave with you. Someday is the thief that's stealing your potential right now. Today, while you're waiting for conditions to be perfect. Here's what most people don't understand about success. They think it's built on the big moments, the big breaks, the big decisions, the dramatic transformations. They're waiting for their moment, their opportunity, their chance to prove what they're capable of. But successful people know a different truth. Success isn't built on big moments. It's built on small moments repeated consistently over time. It's what you do when nobody's watching. It's what you do when you don't feel like it. It's what you do today. I remember sitting in my apartment years ago, broke, frustrated, knowing I was capable of more, but not seeing it in my bank account, not seeing it in my life. I had all these ideas about what I wanted to do, who I wanted to become, what I wanted to achieve. Beautiful ideas, brilliant plans, but plans without action are just dreams, and dreams without action are just wishes. And wishes don't pay the rent. One day, I had to face a hard truth about myself. The problem wasn't that I didn't know what to do. I knew exactly what to do. I'd read the books. I'd been to the seminars. I had the knowledge. The problem was I wasn't doing anything with that knowledge. I was waiting. Waiting for what? I couldn't even tell you. Waiting for it to feel easier, I suppose. Waiting to feel ready. Waiting for the fear to go away. Waiting for certainty. That day I made a decision that changed everything. I decided to stop waiting and start moving. Even if I didn't feel ready, even if I was scared, even if I didn't have it all figured out, I would do something every single day that moved me toward what I said I wanted. Not someday. Today. Now, I'm not talking about massive action. I'm not talking about working yourself into the ground. I'm talking about consistent action, daily action. The kind of action that doesn't look impressive to anyone else but compounds over time into something remarkable. You see, most people overestimate what they can do in a day and underestimate what they can do in a year. They want to change everything overnight, and when they can't, they give up and change nothing. But here's the secret successful people understand. Small daily improvements over time create exponential results. You don't need to transform your entire life today. You need to do one thing today that's better than yesterday. Then do it again tomorrow, and the next day, and the day after that. Let me give you an example. Say you want to write a book. That's a big goal. Overwhelming even. Most people look at that goal and freeze. So they do nothing. They wait until they have a full day to really focus on it, and that day never comes because life is busy. But what if you wrote just one page a day? Just one page. Most people could write one page in 15 or 20 minutes. But here's the magic. One page a day for a year is 365 pages. That's a book. That's something that exists in the world instead of just existing in your head. And it happened because you did a little bit every single day. That's the power of daily action. It removes the overwhelm. It makes the impossible possible by breaking it down into manageable pieces. But more than that, it builds something else. It builds you. Because every day you keep that commitment to yourself. You're not just working on your goal. You're working on your character. You're proving to yourself that you're the kind of person who does what they say they're going to do. You're building discipline. You're building confidence. You're building momentum. And momentum is everything. See, the hardest part of any journey is starting, getting that initial movement, overcoming inertia. But once you're moving, once you've built some momentum, it gets easier. Not easy, but easier. The first day you do something new, it takes enormous willpower. The second day, slightly less. The 10th day, even less. By the 30th day, it's becoming a habit. By the 90th day, it's part of who you are. But you have to start, and you have to keep going. Because here's what happens to most people. They start with great enthusiasm. They take action for a day, maybe 2 days, maybe even a week. Then life happens. They get busy. They get tired. They have a bad day. And they break the chain. They miss one day, and missing one day makes it easier to miss the next day. And before they know it, they're back where they started, wondering why they can't stick with anything. You know what separates people who achieve their goals from people who don't? It's not that they never miss a day. It's what they do when they miss a day. Unsuccessful people use one missed day as permission to quit. Successful people treat a missed day as an exception, not a new pattern. They don't miss 2 days in a row. They get right back on track. They understand that perfection isn't the goal. Progress is the goal. Here's another truth about daily action. It's not always about the external results. Sometimes the most important result is what it does to you internally. Every day you take action on your goals, you're sending a message to yourself. You're saying, I'm serious about this. I'm committed. I'm the kind of person who follows through. And every day you don't take action, you're sending the opposite message. You're reinforcing the identity of someone who has good intentions but poor execution. Your life right now is a direct result of your daily habits, not your occasional habits, your daily habits. What you do once in a while doesn't shape your life. What you do consistently shapes your life. If you want to know where you'll be in 5 years, look at what you're doing today. Look at what you did yesterday. Look at what you've been doing every day for the past month, the past year. That's your trajectory. That's your future being written in real time. Most people don't like to hear this because it means taking responsibility. It's easier to blame circumstances, to blame other people, to blame bad luck. But the truth is, you're exactly where your daily actions have taken you. The good news is, that means you have the power to change your trajectory. Not someday. Today. I've studied successful people for decades, and here's what I've found. They all have one thing in common. It's not intelligence. Some successful people are brilliant, others are average. It's not education. Some have advanced degrees, others dropped out of high school. It's not even talent or skill, because I've seen incredibly talented people waste their potential and people with modest abilities achieve extraordinary things. The one thing they all have in common is this. They do something productive every single day that moves them toward their goals. They don't wait for inspiration. They don't wait to feel motivated. They don't wait for the perfect moment. They just do the work, day after day after day, when they feel like it and when they don't. When it's convenient and when it's hard. When people are watching and when nobody cares. They show up and they do the work. Now, let me address something important. When I talk about taking action every day, I'm not talking about burning yourself out. I'm not talking about working yourself to exhaustion. I'm talking about sustainable, consistent effort. Because here's another mistake people make. They confuse intensity with consistency. They go all out for a week, work themselves into the ground, and then burn out and quit. That's not what I'm talking about. Think of it like this. If you wanted to get in shape, what would be more effective? Working out intensely for 8 hours one day or working out for 30 minutes every day for a year? Obviously, the second option, because consistency beats intensity every time. Your body doesn't transform because of one intense workout. It transforms because of many moderate workouts over time. The same is true for every area of your life. You don't build a business with one massive effort. You build it with consistent daily effort over months and years. You don't build wealth with one big score. You build it with consistent saving and investing over time. You don't build knowledge by cramming once. You build it by learning a little bit every single day. You don't build relationships with grand gestures. You build them with small, consistent acts of care and attention. Everything worthwhile in life is built the same way. Small efforts, repeated consistently over time. That's the formula. That's the secret that's not really a secret at all. Everyone knows it, but most people won't do it because it's not glamorous. It doesn't make for a good story. It's not exciting. It's just effective. Here's what I want you to understand. You're either getting better or you're getting worse. You're either moving forward or you're moving backward. There's no such thing as standing still. Every day you don't practice your skill. Someone else is practicing and getting better. Every day you don't work on your business, your competitors are working on theirs. Every day you don't invest in yourself, you're falling behind. Not dramatically, not noticeably, but incrementally. And those increments add up. The same is true in reverse. Every day you do take action, you're getting incrementally better. You're moving incrementally forward. And those increments add up too. Compound over time. Create momentum. Generate results that seem like overnight success to people who don't understand that it was really years of daily action that looked like nothing special to anyone watching. Let me tell you about the power of just showing up. There will be days when you don't want to take action. Days when you're tired, when you're discouraged, when you don't see the point. On those days, the most important thing you can do is show up anyway. Even if you do half as much as usual. Even if you do less than your best. Just show up and do something. You know why? Because the habit of showing up is more important than the quality of any individual effort. If you only take action when you feel motivated, when you feel inspired, when conditions are perfect, you'll take action maybe 10% of the time. But if you train yourself to show up regardless of how you feel, you'll take action 100% of the time. And 100% of moderate effort beats 10% of excellent effort every single time. Plus, here's something interesting. Often when you show up without feeling motivated, the motivation shows up after you start. Action creates motivation more often than motivation creates action. You don't need to wait until you feel like doing it. Start doing it, and the feeling will follow. This is counterintuitive to most people because we've been taught that motivation comes first, then action. But it actually works the other way around. Think about it in your own life. How many times have you not wanted to do something, forced yourself to start anyway, and then found yourself getting into it once you got going? That's the pattern. Motivation follows action. So stop waiting to feel motivated. Start acting and let the motivation catch up. Now, I want to talk about what daily action actually looks like in practical terms. Keep it simple. Ask yourself, what's one thing I can do today that will move me closer to my goal? Not 10 things. One thing. Then do that thing. Tomorrow, ask the same question and do that thing. And make sure it matters. Not all action is equal. Some actions move you forward. Some actions keep you busy but don't actually create progress. You need to know the difference. Busy work feels like action, but it doesn't create results. Here's another thing about daily action. It requires sacrifice. Every day you take action toward your goals, you're giving up something. Maybe it's comfort. Maybe it's entertainment. The question is, what are you willing to give up to get what you say you want? You have to be willing to do today what others won't, so you can do tomorrow what others can't. You have to be willing to make different choices, to have different priorities, not forever necessarily, but for as long as it takes to build what you're trying to build. Most people spread themselves thin. They dabble in everything and commit to nothing. And 10 years later, they're shocked that they haven't made meaningful progress in any direction. You can't dabble your way to success. You have to commit. Let me share something with you about time. Everyone gets the same 24 hours. The difference isn't time. The difference is what they did with their time. Successful people make better choices about what deserves their daily attention and action. Your priorities are revealed by your actions, not your intentions. And your daily actions either align with what you say you want, or they don't. If they don't, something needs to change. Either change what you want, or change what you do. But don't keep lying to yourself about it. Here's what I've learned. You don't need more time. You need more focus. You don't need more motivation. You need more discipline. You don't need a better plan. You need better execution. Most people have perfectly good plans. They know what they should be doing. They're just not doing it. And knowing without doing is the same as not knowing. Let me tell you about discipline. Discipline is doing what needs to be done when it needs to be done, whether you feel like it or not. It's keeping commitments to yourself. It's following through, even when it's hard, even when it's boring, even when you'd rather do something else. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. Without discipline, all you have is wishes and regrets. The good news about discipline is that it's like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. Every time you do what you said you'd do, even when you don't feel like it, you're strengthening your discipline. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you're building trust with yourself. Every time you take action when it would be easier not to, you're becoming a stronger person. And every time you don't do what you said you'd do, you're weakening that muscle. You're teaching yourself that your commitments don't mean anything. You're proving to yourself that you can't be trusted. This might sound harsh, but it's important to understand. Every action or inaction is training you to be a certain kind of person. What kind of person are you training yourself to be? Here's the beautiful thing about daily action. It compounds. Not just in terms of results, but in terms of identity. You don't just become someone who has achieved something, you become someone who achieves things. There's a difference. The first is about the destination. The second is about who you are. And who you are is infinitely more valuable than what you have, because who you are will create more of what you want. When you take action every day, you're not just moving toward your goals. You're becoming the kind of person who achieves goals. You're developing the character, the habits, the discipline, the resilience that makes success inevitable. Other people look at successful people and think they're lucky. They don't see the thousands of days of action that created that luck. They don't see the discipline. They don't see the sacrifices. They just see the results and think it must be nice to be so lucky. But luck has nothing to do with it. Or if it does, you make your own luck through daily action. The more you do, the luckier you get. The more you show up, the more opportunities show up for you. The more you put yourself out there, the more chances you have to succeed. Luck is just another word for the results of consistent effort over time. I want to talk about something else that's important. The relationship between daily action and self-respect. When you do what you say you're going to do, you respect yourself more. When you follow through on your commitments, even the private ones nobody else knows about, you build self-respect. And self-respect is the foundation of everything else. You can't feel good about yourself when you're constantly breaking promises to yourself. You can't have high self-esteem when you know you're capable of more, but you're not doing anything about it. Every day you take action, you're making a deposit in your self-respect account. Every day you don't, you're making a withdrawal. What's your balance? The people with the highest levels of achievement are usually the people with the highest levels of self-respect. Not arrogance. Not ego. Self-respect. They know they can count on themselves. They know that when they commit to something, it gets done. That confidence, that self-trust, that self-respect, it changes everything. It changes how you show up in the world. It changes what you believe is possible. It changes what you're willing to attempt. And it all comes from the simple act of doing what you say you're going to do, day after day after day. That's it. That's the secret. Keep your promises to yourself. Do what you said you'd do. Take action even when you don't feel like it. Show up even when it's hard. Be consistent even when results aren't immediate. Speaking of results, let me address something that trips a lot of people up. Daily action doesn't produce daily results. At least not visible ones. You might take action for days, weeks, even months before you see significant results. This is where most people quit. They think if they're not seeing results, the action isn't working. But that's not how it works. Think of it like pushing a heavy wheel. At first, it takes enormous effort just to get it moving. You're pushing and pushing and the wheel barely budges. But you keep pushing, and slowly it starts to turn. And you keep pushing, and it turns a little faster. And you keep pushing, and suddenly it's rolling on its own momentum. That's how daily action works. The effort you put in at the beginning seems disproportionate to the results you're getting. But you're not just creating results. You're creating momentum. And once you have momentum, everything gets easier. But you have to push through that initial phase where it feels like your effort isn't producing anything. You have to trust the process. You have to have faith that consistent action compounds over time, even when you can't see it yet. The bamboo tree is a perfect example. You plant it, water it, care for it. For 5 years you see almost no growth above ground. Just a tiny shoot. You might think nothing's happening. But underground, it's developing a massive root system. Then in the 6th year, it grows 90 feet in 6 weeks. Did it grow 90 feet in 6 weeks, or did it grow 90 feet in 6 years? It grew in 6 years. You just couldn't see it for the first 5. Your daily action is like that. You might not see the results immediately, but things are happening beneath the surface. You're building capability. You're developing skills. You're creating connections. You're establishing patterns. And one day, seemingly overnight, everything comes together, and people will say you're an overnight success. But you'll know the truth. You'll know about the days and weeks and months and years of action that nobody saw. This is why you can't compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. You're seeing their results without understanding their process. You're seeing their success without knowing their struggle. Don't let someone else's highlight reel discourage you from your daily work. Stay focused on your own journey. Stay committed to your own daily action. Trust that if you keep showing up, keep doing the work, keep taking action, your results will come. There will always be resistance. Internal resistance from your own doubts. External resistance from circumstances and other people. The question is, will you let resistance stop you, or will you push through it? Successful people expect resistance. They don't let it surprise them or discourage them. They just acknowledge it and keep moving. The path of least resistance leads to where everyone else is. If you want different results than most people get, you have to be willing to be uncomfortable. Growth and comfort can't coexist. Let me share something I've observed over the years. The people who achieve the most aren't necessarily the most talented or the most intelligent. They're the most consistent. They show up day after day. They keep their commitments. They do the work. They don't make excuses. They just keep moving forward, one day at a time, one action at a time. And over time, that consistency creates such a massive advantage that talent and intelligence can't compete with it. Because talent without action produces nothing. Intelligence without application changes nothing. But consistent daily action, even from someone with average abilities, produces extraordinary results over time. Now, let's talk about what happens when you make daily action a non-negotiable part of your life. Not something you do when you feel like it. Not something you do when circumstances allow it. A non-negotiable, something you do regardless of how you feel, regardless of what's going on, regardless of obstacles or resistance. When you make daily action non-negotiable, everything changes. You stop debating with yourself every morning about whether you're going to do it. You stop negotiating with yourself about exceptions and special circumstances. You just do it. The same way you brush your teeth. You don't debate whether you're going to brush your teeth. You don't wait until you feel motivated to brush your teeth. You just do it because that's what you do. That's the level of commitment required for daily action to transform your life. It has to become part of your identity. Not something you're trying, not something you're working on. Something you are. You are someone who takes daily action toward your goals. Period. That's who you are. And when that's who you are, the action flows naturally because you're not fighting yourself anymore. You're not resisting yourself. You're just being yourself, and yourself is someone who does the work. This shift in identity is crucial. Most people are trying to achieve goals that don't align with their identity. They want to be successful, but they identify as someone who struggles. They want to be healthy, but they identify as someone who's out of shape. They want to be wealthy, but they identify as someone who's bad with money. And as long as your goals don't match your identity, you'll sabotage yourself. Because your actions will always align with your identity, not your intentions. So you have to change your identity. You have to become someone who does what successful people do. You have to become someone who takes daily action. You have to become someone who follows through. You have to become someone who keeps commitments. And you change your identity through action. Every day you take action, you're proving to yourself that you're that kind of person. You're reinforcing that identity. You're becoming that person. Here's the process. Decide who you want to become, then prove it to yourself through small daily actions. Want to become a writer? Write every day. Want to become fit? Exercise every day. Want to become wealthy? Make financial decisions like a wealthy person every day. Your actions create your identity, and your identity drives your actions. It's a positive feedback loop, but only if you start it by taking action. Let me tell you what happens over the long term when you commit to daily action. At first it's hard. You have to force yourself. But you keep going. Days turn into weeks. Weeks turn into months. And something shifts. The action starts to get easier because you're stronger. You've built the discipline muscle. After a few months, daily action becomes your new normal. It's just what you do, and your results are starting to show. That progress motivates you to keep going. The momentum is building. After a year, you're a different person. You've developed capabilities you didn't have before. You've created results that didn't exist before. Your confidence has grown. Your self-respect has grown. Your life has changed in measurable ways. All because you took action every single day. After 5 years, people look at you like you're lucky. They don't see the thousands of days of action. They just see where you are now compared to where they are. Let them think that. You know the truth. You know that anyone could do what you did if they were willing to pay. The price in daily action over time. The price is high, but it's worth it. The price is giving up immediate gratification for long-term results. The price is doing hard things when you'd rather do easy things. The price is being disciplined when you'd rather be comfortable. The price is showing up day after day after day, even when progress seems slow, even when results aren't immediate, even when nobody else notices or cares. That's the price. And most people aren't willing to pay it, which is why most people don't get the results. But you're different. You're reading this because you want to be different. You want better results. You want a better life. And now you know the path. Daily action. Simple but not easy. Obvious but rarely practiced. The gap between where you are and where you want to be is filled with days. Days of action or days of excuses. Days of progress or days of procrastination. Days of building or days of coasting. You can't change your past, but you can absolutely change your future. Starting right now. Not tomorrow. Not Monday. Not next month. Right now. This very day. You can decide that from this point forward you're going to be someone who takes action every single day. Someone who does what needs to be done. Someone who keeps commitments. Someone who follows through. That decision, backed up by daily action, will change everything. Your life 5 years from now will be determined by 2 things. The people you meet and the daily actions you take. You can't completely control who you meet, but you can absolutely control your daily actions. And those actions will determine not just what you achieve, but who you become. And who you become is infinitely more important than what you achieve, because who you are will continue to create results long after any individual achievement. So become someone who acts. Become someone who does. Become someone who shows up. Become someone who persists. Become someone who keeps promises. Become someone who doesn't need permission or perfect conditions or ideal circumstances to take action. Become someone who just does what needs to be done day after day after day until the life you want is the life you're living. That's the formula. That's the path. That's the truth about success that most people never fully embrace. Not because they don't know it, but because they're not willing to live it. But you can be different. You can be one of the few who actually does what they know they should do. You can be one of the few whose actions match their intentions. You can be one of the few who build something real through daily action over time. The life you want is waiting for you on the other side of consistent daily action. Everything you say you want, the success, the growth, the achievement, the transformation, it's all available to you. Not through wishing, not through planning, not through waiting for the perfect moment. Through action. Daily, consistent, persistent action that compounds over time into extraordinary results. This is your chance. This is your moment. Not to change everything overnight, but to start the process that will change everything over time. One day at a time, one action at a time, one choice at a time. Choose action over comfort. Choose progress over perfection. Choose doing over delaying. Choose now over someday. Because someday is today if you decide it is. And everything changes the moment you decide that today is the day you start taking the daily action that will create the life you're meant to live.